So this is a fast-growing space. I'm going to go into a little bit of how I got to where I'm at with that business. It's kind of a cool story. But real quickly, I put this number on the screen because this direct-to-consumer subscription space is turning into a $275 billion industry. It's up $51 billion from last year. And in 2014, I had identified that things were moving towards subscription. And so I launched a company called The Gentleman's Box. Some of you may or may not have heard of it, but we sent you ties, dress socks, tie clips to your door. We had a partnership with GQ magazine very early on. And I noticed that everybody was started targeting the female demographic, like Birchbox, Fun. So we're like, let's make a men's one. We had a lot of success. And then in 2016, I wanted to go to a conference and meet all these subscription box people. Nothing existed. So a couple of guys with no event experience were like, let's host a conference. And we did it here in Detroit. And it felt like I was in high school having a party and I had no idea if anybody was going to show up. But 200 people did. And it was amazing. Fast forward 3 years later, we're in New Orleans, over 1,000 people. Just last week, over 1,000 attendees, everybody from Netflix to DoorDash and HelloFresh and BarkBox, you name it. If they're in the DTC space, they are now part of my community and in our conference. For those that are entrepreneurs in the room, I built that business with $0. I put a deposit on the Athenaeum, is that how you say it, or Athenaeum Hotel here in Detroit. I sold the first sponsorship for $3,500, and then we never put $1 into the business. And we've built that to a 8-figure business. At this point, COVID obviously hit, slowed us down, but now we're getting back on our heels. So when you think about direct-to-consumer subscriptions, this image depicts about how it's like in every part of our lives. How many of you think you have more than 5 subscriptions? Right? Think about all the apps that you guys pay for, right? If you really think about it, you're probably up to like 10 to 15. Right? And there's subscriptions for everything. Toilet paper getting delivered. There's a sponge club where the guy sends you a new sponge every month. And you think about it, you're like, does this make any sense? But like a guy like me, I'm single. Like I'm never buying a sponge. Or like my mom might pick up like a 12-pack from Costco or something and like give it to me when I stop at her house. But if I didn't have that subscription, that I wasn't going to get a new sponge ever, right? From the streaming services, right? Everybody's moving off of cable, going into streaming. Everything is about access. Today's consumer wants to use things as they want and cancel them as they want. 5 years ago, you probably all used Microsoft Office. If you wanted the program, you paid $500 for it. Or you lied and said you were a student and paid $125. But now you just pay a monthly fee. And you get it, and you use it as you want, and you cancel it as you want. Subscriptions are everywhere. And more brands are pivoting to the model. There's companies that will furnish your whole home with furniture on a subscription basis. Use it for 4 months, have them come pick it up, right? Today's consumer, like these kids are graduating from school, and Charlie was talking about they want things fast, they want them convenient. Kids now want to work on the beach, like live in New York, then go to Cali, right? Like live this dream. Well, these subscription services allow them to do it. So there's 6 segments in the subscription space that we dictate within our trade association. We've got streaming, membership, subscription boxes, media, digital, and subscribe and save. Subscribe and save is very popular. You probably see it on Amazon, brands like Chewy. And you wonder, like, why are these so successful and why are these brands so valuable? I'm going to quickly walk through. Oh, really hard. That was a clip from our conference where the guy that won an award, that's what he said. Building a business was very hard. But here are some brands that had a lot of success in building really large businesses fast. Direct-to-consumer subscription brands have much higher valuations than a typical e-commerce brand because they're getting more purchases from the consumer. They're building a relationship with the consumer. So Lululemon purchased Mirror. Are you guys familiar with the Mirror subscription? They bought them for $500 million. Mirror was probably doing about $100 million in revenue. They got a 5X. They probably weren't even profitable. I don't know the exact numbers, but that was more than likely the case. But this made a lot of sense for Lululemon, right? Because Lululemon's a retail store selling athletic wear. But now they acquired a brand that's a subscription, that's a workout fitness company. These subscribers are monthly paying to have these workouts right in their home. Lululemon selling fitness stuff, right? So now, like, they're consistently engaging in the customer on this screen, when someone's working out, like in between workouts, they can pop up like new attire, like, hey, like, want this, right? If you're a Mirror member, you potentially get a discount on Lululemon stuff. You get to go to Lululemon specific events. They're building an experience. Ipsy purchased BoxyCharm. We got anyone here familiar with these two brands? These are health and beauty products for women. Ipsy is samples, so just like Birchbox. BoxyCharm is full-size products. Ipsy purchased BoxyCharm for $500 million as well. I know the founders of both these companies very well, and it made a lot of sense for Ipsy because Ipsy is sending you samples, and when you like a product that you got a sample of, you then might want to go buy the full size. And that's when they're like, well, hey, let's upgrade you to BoxyCharm. On top of that, digital marketers in the room, we're paying for all this top of the funnel traffic, right, for our brands. What Ipsy and BoxyCharm gets to do is pay for one consumer and give them two offerings, right? They're like essentially like cutting that acquisition cost in half because they get to diversify it. Somebody signs up for Ipsy, uses it for 7 months, cancels. Oh, hey, like try BoxyCharm, and vice versa. FabFitFun raised $80 million and a $1 billion valuation. The point of this, Stitch Fix went public. Wink went public. BarkBox went public. I don't know what the next slide is. So the truth is, these brands are building relationships with the consumers, and you're seeing valuations with D2C brands that you've never seen before. Typical D2C brand might get like a 1.5 to 2x. We've seen that happen with like Bonobos and some other ones. These subscription brands are getting 5 to 10x, 12x valuations, 10x acquisitions. Dollar Shave Club sold for $1.1 billion. They were doing like $200 million a year in revenue. Weren't even profitable. They're like burning money. But the truth is, we know that Amazon is always going to be able to sell the consumer something for cheaper and ship it to them faster. So I think it was like 3 weeks ago, I ordered a monitor at like 10 a.m. and it was at my house at 4 p.m. Like, that's insane. So for the last 10 years, one of Amazon's flywheels has been shipping. So they've been investing in shipping. And with a direct-to-consumer subscription brand, the only way that you're going to be able to compete with an Amazon or a retail store is to be able to provide an experience that you cannot get on a retail level. And the customer journey starts from the very first time a consumer sees one of your ads to landing on your website. The checkout process, the delivery, and the post-delivery experience. If any of you ever worked with an e-commerce brand, 3-4 years ago, it was always like, how do we fire them through the checkout process fast? Right? For your text messaging software, like you want to like send them a link and you want them to click the link and you want them to make the purchase. With subscriptions, it's the exact opposite. We want the consumers to make micro commitments. We want to learn as much as we can about the consumer because we're building a relationship with them. And the brands that build relationships with the consumers have the most success. By the way, if you go to SUBTA Studios on YouTube, you'll see where I review some of these big brands and talk about this stuff. Here's an example of how Chewy's built personalization and built relationships with the consumer. When we think about Chewy.com in general, I don't know, they think they started maybe 11 years ago, but they sell pet food. Well, so does Amazon, so does Walmart. How did they sell for $2.5 billion to Petco? It's an insane number. They're only doing $275 million a year in revenue, and they sold for $2.5 billion. Chewy.com focused on the customer experience. So I have a husky at home. I used to have 2. One passed not long ago. But if I called an Amazon rep and said, I have a 105-pound husky who has stomach problems, what should I feed him? The Amazon rep is like more than likely going to be like, I don't know, right? Like read some reviews, right? Check Pro Plan. Chewy.com invested millions of dollars into their customer service team to educate them about every single product that they sold. So if I called Chewy.com, they'd have the answer to this question. On top of that, for the holidays, they hand wrote in 2017, I had a good conversation with their CMO, they hand wrote over 1 million holiday cards to all their customers. This is an experience you don't get on a retail level. If any of you have pets and you go to the store to buy the dog food, who wants to carry around a 60-pound bag, throw it in your car, drive it to the house, and then bring it in the house? Chewy.com on Subscribe and Save, on the 3rd of every month, that food is delivered right to my door. I've actually recently switched over to Farmer's Dog, but that again is on a subscription. Every 14 days, they send me the fresh food for my pet, goes in the freezer. On a subscription, I never have to think about buying dog food ever again, unless my credit card fails or something, I move, right? But it's going to come every single month, every single, or bi-weekly, whatever the cadence is. But Chewy.com was able to separate itself from with the consumer. Oh, by the way, if any of you have ever signed up for Chewy, like one of the first questions is like, what's your pet's name? Then you go to the next question, like my pet's name is King. So like the next question is like, how old is King? Like they made a customization through the checkout flow. Stitch Fix, they bring a personal shopper right to your doorstep. We're all busy. I hate going to the mall. I mean, that's not for everybody, but they will literally deliver me an outfit. I will select the products I want, throw them back in the box, keep the ones I want, the ones I don't want, send them back to them. And they charge me just for what I keep. This is a personalized experience. Amazon cannot do this. Amazon will never compete with Stitch Fix because they're not going to go hire hundreds and hundreds of personal shoppers and learn all these different things about the consumer. The only thing Amazon knows about you is like your buying behavior, where you live, and the things you like to search for. Stitch Fix knows your size, the colors you like, the types of clothes you wear. It's a lot of data and a lot of things they can do with that data. Shows like Netflix, like here's Stranger Things. Did anybody watch it? I just finished. Yeah, it's great. The reason, like, I think I watch Ozark and Netflix, or no, Ozark and Stranger Things, and I pay Netflix every single month. Now, I'm not going to cancel. But the truth is, I'm subscribed to them because of the exclusive content. Me and Matt were talking about this earlier, but they're going to need to continue to build a lot of great exclusive content to keep you there. But like I wanted to watch Yellowstone because everyone was raving about Yellowstone. So then I had to go sign up for Paramount. Right? Then I wanted to watch this other series. So then I go sign up for this streaming service. And now I've got like 17 of them. And I watch like one show on each one of them. I think Disney Plus was for Mandalorian. So, but what Amazon or what Netflix is doing is they're going to continue to engage with you like this, right? So because you watch Stranger Things, you're more than likely going to like this. And the best thing that they can do is keep showing you the exclusive content, the original content that you can only watch on Netflix, because that's going to continue to keep you subscribed. What they're doing here is continuously engaging with the consumer. That's what sets subscriptions apart from other businesses. Vinyl Me Please is a record subscription. Every month they send you a new record. But also, along with the subscription, you have membership access. So you get discounts on other vinyls. They've also built a community where like people are like trading vinyls. That's another thing about subscription brands, and actually what like really separates a really good brand over just a typical like transactional business. Is there a community around it? Look at Peloton. I mean, it's almost like a cult. Like, oh, you're on Peloton, like, and they're all jumping on. It's community based. FabFitFun customers have box opening parties where like groups of people get together and they open the box together and like talk about what it came with. Community is so critical for every single brand. The success of my conference is because of the community we built. Everybody's coming in seeing the same familiar faces, excited to see each other, building friendships. Community brands thrive. How many of you are familiar with HelloFresh? Okay. How about EveryPlate? Chef's Plate? Okay. And Green Chef. Do you know what all these companies have in common? Besides the fact that they're food delivery. They're all owned by HelloFresh. A lot of people didn't know that. I mentioned this slide, or this whole talk was about ways to keep customers coming back, right? But what's important about what HelloFresh has done is they've used these different brands to keep engaged with the consumer, right? So somebody signs up for HelloFresh, cancels. It's like, well, why did you cancel? Like, I want more, let's say more organic or GMO-free food or something. Here's Green Chef, right? I can't afford HelloFresh. EveryPlate is a little bit cheaper version of it. Part of their win-back campaign, the getting customers to come back, is to have different product offerings. HelloFresh has like really mastered this, and they've done a great job with it. And now I'm going to talk for a little bit because I'll be honest with you, I had like 17 slides and I made it yesterday at 4 o'clock. But that's because I was in Orlando all last week. But the truth is, when you're thinking about subscription brands, one of the biggest things that everybody worries about is like, how do we acquire more customers? I like to say, well, how do we retain them? Because it's 5 times cheaper to retain a customer than to acquire a new one, right? And so we think about what are the things we can do to keep engaged with the consumer so that they don't cancel. And one of the biggest things brands need to be thinking about, because with churn, there's 2 types of churn. There's involuntary and voluntary. Involuntary is like credit card didn't go through. Voluntary is like, look, I don't like this. With a subscription brand, when you go to cancel, some of the more important things to do is ask questions like why, right? It seems normal, but like we want to know why, but like let's get detailed here. Is it because they didn't like the product? Is it because it cost too much? I have too much of it. So I'll give you the story about Gentleman's Box, which I mentioned to you that I started in 2014. We got it acquired in 2020. We were burning money for about 2.5 years. And I think I maybe had like 8 months before like I was gonna have to go probably borrow or like raise some money. We started to listen to our customers. So we as entrepreneurs and marketers think we know the answer, but the truth is the consumers will tell us what we want to know. So we looked at why people were canceling, and they were canceling for one of 3 reasons. Majority of these top 3 reasons were the ones that were picked. 1, I couldn't afford it. 2, I had too much stuff, so I had product fatigue. And 3, I didn't like it. So looking at that data, we're like, okay, these people are like canceling for one of these 3 reasons. We introduced a $99 a month quarterly subscription. So we were initially $29 a month. We sent you a box every single month. We said, okay, people want either we can get them nicer items and they have too much stuff. So instead of giving them 12 boxes a year, let's give them 4. So instead of $29 a month, we launched a $100 a quarter men's premium subscription. And what we saw was we eliminated 2 of the reasons why they were canceling. They were no longer canceling because they didn't like the stuff, or they were no longer canceling because they had too much stuff. They were only getting 4 boxes a year, not 12. And they were no longer canceling because they couldn't afford it. When you're thinking about it, you're like, well, wait a minute, they're still paying $100, $29 a month is actually like a little bit less. We were getting a higher quality consumer, one that had more discretionary income, one that was willing to pay $100 on first purchase, not $29. So consumers were staying on longer. How many of you are familiar with like LTV and CAC? If not, I can explain it. CAC being like customer acquisition cost. So how much are we paying to get a customer? And LTV being how much are we making on them over the course of the lifetime, right? So an easy example would be I'm a dentist and I know that for every new patient I get over the course of their life, I make $10,000 on them. Well, that's the LTV. And if I paid 20 grand for a TV ad and I got 10 new customers, I paid $2 grand to get that customer. Right. So with Gentleman's Box, our monthly subscription, we had like $180 lifetime value, and we paid about $90 to acquire them. With our quarterly subscription, we had an $800 LTV, and we only paid $160 to acquire them. So CAC went up like just under double, and our LTV 4x'd. So we went from like burning money to being like super profitable and then eventually getting acquired, all because we listened to our customers. It was like a 4-hour debate about switching to this quarterly model. Like, no, this doesn't make sense. Like everybody's debating. Turns out like what a luxury it was. We built out 4 boxes a year instead of 12. We had 3 months to sell out instead of 30 days. And we got higher quality consumers. And so that helped reduce churn. And that's why I've got this churn up here. But also thinking about consumers that involuntary churn, is meaning like their credit cards didn't go through. And like what's important for brands is to think, well, how can we like get them back? How can we follow up with them to make sure that their card does go through? All these are so important when it comes to retaining a consumer. And building an experience, listening to customers has been one of the more critical parts. And the brands that have seen the most success, you'll see do that really, really, really well. Another big part about building an experience with the consumer, or for a brand to build an experience with the consumer, is to offer exclusivity, right? So we talked about Netflix. I worked with Victoria's Secrets to build a subscription for their women's underwear and apparel, right? And so their biggest problem to me was, well, then that's going to stop people from going into the stores. I said, well, what if for the subscription, you were giving them exclusive products? So things you couldn't get in the store, right? But then leverage that to get them to the store. So you might get the bottom underwear and say, go to the store and get the bra for 30% off. Now we're like leveraging this consumer to drive them into the store, but also getting them to make the purchases. On average, a consumer was buying 1.5 times per year with them. On a subscription, they would get 8 purchases. It's a huge difference. Subscription brands are building relationships with the consumer, so you don't think about buying your product from anybody else. If you know that I go to this restaurant, and as a member of this restaurant, I get 20% off every time I eat there. If you're thinking about going somewhere to eat, like that might be your first choice, right? Because like, hey, this is where I get my discount. Sort of like the country club feel. It's exclusive. That's why people like to go to country clubs. People in general are like sort of like bougie, right? Like I get to go here. This is the place I like to go to. I pay this monthly fee for it. But this is why it works. You walk into a country club, like the person in the front probably knows you, right? This is exclusivity. These are things other brands can't emulate. And what really separates a good brand and allows a subscription business to succeed over the big giants in the room, which are the Amazons, the Walmarts, etc. Let's see if I think I kind of flew through this. Oh, there's an annual report that we just came out with, which talks more about the industry. If you want it, you can scan that QR code. There's some access to it, but it's just showing how fast the industry is growing. But any questions? So things I like to do now is like ask questions, or if you have a brand or a business and you're wondering how to build a subscription around it, I'm happy to sort of like brainstorm through that really quickly. It's something I'm really good at. Nobody's ever been able to stump me. I believe, and I truly believe this, that every single business should have some sort of subscription model associated with it. You have something? Yeah.
So one of my clients is a high-end lighting designer. So they sell chandeliers, lamps, sconces.
Sure.
That are like, for your home, but they're typical lamps is like $40.
Mm-hmm.
Lighting is like $1,000.
Yeah. Yes. So potentially like the bulbs, right? Naturally, you might need them regularly. That seems sort of easy and not that fun. But I would start there. I mean, I think that's an interesting one. Probably the bulbs, but that's not that like. I can't imagine how lucrative that might get.
I'll give you a hint quicker. It's actually not as obvious to go, but we were talking about designers, right? Designers actually want subscription because they're actually working with multiple clients throughout their doing over design.
Mm-hmm.
And then really know, they get discounts already, but there's an opportunity to innovate around the customer experience for them, so that they're providing it to their clients, right? Throughout the year.
Let me ask the question, because lighting obviously doesn't replace how he went to bulbs because there's a cycle of it.
Yeah.
What is the longest period of time you will have between subscription rounds? Because I would subscribe to a chandelier subscription that renewed every 5 years.
Right. Change out. It's like, hey,
Because again, I think
Sure.
there's a cycle. I'll invest 10 grand, but I'll invest 10 grand over time. It allows me to update it as my home needs updated. So
Yeah.
like, what's the length?
So like the payback period, it all depends on the product, right? So it's very difficult to sort of put that into place. If that was the only thing they were selling, like thinking about branching off in other parts of the house could be creative, right? And you could also like build a, so I'm assuming chandeliers are going on like, these are nicer homes with like nice dining tables. You might be able to build like an experience around like the place settings. Like those are coming in every single quarter, or there's like themed place settings, right? So like for the holidays, like the specific place setting. So you could get creative with something like that. Back to your question about the designers that are looking to get, is that what did you point to certain people that are designers or? Oh, I see. Yeah, so designers, you're saying instead of charging by the hour, charging a monthly flat fee and they get X number of hours of design work for the client? Oh, I see. Oh, you're saying the interior designers. Got it. Yeah. I was thinking actual design. Yeah. Good. What else? Yeah. Any AI technology to further engage them?
So I saw this one company, Behemoths, recently. And so basically what they're able to do is track the order history and the way in which people are buying. There's data around like you have 5 or 6 things in your cart, likelihood of you buying something versus having 2 things in your cart goes down
Sure.
significantly. So like, I thought that was pretty cool. And having like pop-up little word bubbles. Oh, this actually matches with this brand, this seasonal item. So you may have a shirt. Then they made redirect to where the pants, like there was just some cool.
Yeah, so
Description, there'd be a lot of people looking at that sort of stuff.
yeah, there's more around the data around. So again, the big thing with subscription is like churn and like understanding how long they're going to stay on for and the different demographics. So you're seeing a lot of like data analytic brands that are like looking at a segment group of consumers that made the purchase and trying to identify like when they might cancel or how long or what's the quality of them. On the acquisition side, though, there's like the typical e-commerce stuff, right? There's like the AI technology for Messenger and like having chat bots that are getting them to buy. There's also like the upsell. You mentioned text messaging. Like there's a big play with text messaging and subscription boxes because you could send a text out 5 days before the subscription's renewing and say, hey, your box is about to ship. Do you want to add this hat for $7? They make the purchase and they just throw that item like right into the box. Anything else from anybody? No? You got anything, Matt?
Yeah, let's talk.
Sure.
I'll ask you a bunch of questions. What's the coolest subscription box you just saw coming out at your conference? What are people talking about? What's on the horizon? What should I be subscribing to that I'm not subscribing to right now?
Oh man, depends what you like. It feels like there's a subscription for everything. There's one that's really cool. She just won an award. It's called Entry Envy.
Okay.
So it's like a entry door. It's for your front porch. It's like your address, and it's got like a little pot that you plant a plant in. And like every quarter, she sends you like a new thing to plant there. It's really cool.
I will not be explaining it to my wife because she would subscribe immediately. If there was one that was just wreaths that were decorative to the season, we'd be a double subscriber. We'd be all in on it.
That one's pretty cool. I mean, you've got like, again, Hunt a Killer. Hunt a Killer is cool. So I know Ryan Hogan very, very well. What's great about him, the story about him was he was at my conference in 2017, and I think he had like 5,000 subscribers. And he originally started as a guy that was like hosting like those like.
So this is a true crime subscription box,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
He was hosting like those zombie runs and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
He would, like rent out a field and people would like chase you out. And he was like, I can't scale this, like, because you can only have a certain number of people. You can only do one place at one time. So he started Hunt a Killer. I think now he's at like probably 500,000 subscribers. The guy's crushing it, but like, it's a full experience in a box.
Yeah.
It's a murder mystery. You only complete parts of it, and you gotta wait for the next box to continue to complete it. And like, my God, like he sends you paper every month for $24. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what a margin! Like, he's got a huge margin. It's a great experience.
And do you think that was accelerated by COVID saying, hey, we can't get out for experiences now. We need experiences at our home more than ever?
That was a big bump, but even before that, it was crushing.
Yeah.
Like the customer acquisition. Like he's building a brand, and I think that's what's important. Like Charlie said, like, don't build a business, build a brand if you want to really be truly successful.
Mm-hmm.
You built a brand, you built a culture, there's a community, like Discord. It's like, what's the clue here? What's the clue here? Like, I mean, that's how you build a really good business. I think you had a question here.
Yeah. So like, what's your organizations do exhibit your conference? Is it people like selling subscriptions? Is it people supporting the folks that are?
People support. Like you could have a. There's a guy Paramount. You familiar with Paramount? Sounds like they do what you do. They're right there. Trolley was there too. Yeah. FedEx.
Logistics company.
Logistics, fulfillment, marketing, plugins, CRMs. They're all there.
I mean, the part that's fascinating about subscriptions is recurring revenue. That's what people want. They want that on books. We work in advertising. We'll take an AOR agreement over contract work any day. We'll give a discount for it. So that idea of, I think everyone's being attracted to that recurring, relatable, to your point about attrition and people bleeding off. That's what everyone in the industry is trying to figure out is like, all right, how do I predict my income for the rest of the year? How can I plan against it? How can I innovate against it? And so I think that's something that's applicable to every industry. Why don't you just give us, I asked you over there, as you went through your conference this year, what were the red threads? What were the common themes that you saw from the Netflix of the world to the CPG goods in boxes? What's the next emerging in your category?
You're going to see a lot more personalization. So you're going to sign up for these subscriptions, and they're going to ask a lot of questions leading up to it. I mean, now if people sign up for IPSI, like it's like 30 questions. What's your skin tone? Kind of make it feel like they're learning all these things about the consumer. That's going to allow the brand to present you a product that you're more than likely going to like, and then you're going to stay on. So personalization is going to be critical. And you're seeing you're actually just going to see more and more of these big brands shifting to the model. You're going to see subscriptions in every part of your life. Volvo was supposed to speak at my conference, something that they've got a car subscription. Tesla's working on a subscription. Taco Bell started with a subscription. Panera Bread has a $9 a month coffee club.
That's right.
You're literally going to see it in every single part of your life, and you might realize at some point that you're literally subscribed to everything, and you're not paying for anything. You don't own anything.
Yeah.
Imagine a Lego subscription.
Oh, which one?
I own LegoCrate.com, but I don't want to make it sued by them. But
Lego Crate?
imagine if you had a new Lego set that adults and kids would die for.
Absolutely. And we see that kid space growing massively as well, experiencing the kid space. We were talking about Kiwi Crate. If anyone subscribes to that, it's activities and events in crates. We were talking about one of the things that I was just sharing at lunch with some people we were talking to about this idea of big data. And so like you were talking about, they're going to start asking more and more personalized questions. It's not wrong for you to do that as an industry. What's wrong for you to do is to sit on that information. If you're going to ask that question, the consumer has now an expectation that you're going to use it in a way to create value or connection for them. Sometimes we just ask questions and we actually create an experience. If I went to a restaurant and they said, do you eat with your right hand or your left hand? What temperature do you prefer the restaurant at? And then I got there and there was no payoff on that. It actually is a detriment to the brand. So in the past, we've been just collecting big data. Right? That was the industry trend we saw over the last 10 years. We know so much about them. I had a mentor a long time ago say big data is going to make a lot of people generally right and specifically wrong because they're going to use it to extract value only. Oh, I know your birthday. I can send you a coupon on your birthday. No, you could wish me a happy birthday in an authentic, in a real way. I know your dog's age. That means I know his birthday. I know, you have a husky. My kids would kill for a husky. They're begging me for him right now. Does he have same color eyes or two different?
It's a girl, actually, she's got blue eyes.
All right, there we go. Blue eyes. Some of them have
blue eyes.
There we go. But that's the encouragement. Even as you know more and more about your customer, even as we learn more about them, it's what you will do with it. Just like Charlie was doing, where he was applying creative thinking. Do that with data points, right? If I know my customer's birthday, I get the question of how can I honor them on that day? How can I surprise and delight them in every moment? How could I make them remarkable? Not in a way that is so obvious that I'm trying to take or get, but just in an authentic way. Brands are realizing it's more about friendship. It's more about looking people eye to eye, making true connections, and saying, I'm generally interested in who you are. There's an old saying, it's better to be interested than interesting. Most brands are spending all their time trying to be impressive versus spending their time saying, I'm generally interested in who my customer is and how they behave, and how can I provide value in their lives.
Your point about the data, so Panera Bread's Coffee Club, outside of all the benefits of like you've got this recurring revenue of $9 a month.
Yeah.
Even if the consumer went in every single day and got a free coffee, probably still made money. And outside of the ability to just upsell a consumer when they come in, they now know who the customer is. Mm-hmm. They got your email and they got your name, which we all know if they have your email, they know everything about you, right? Like Facebook knows that we're all sitting in this room right now, hanging out, having this conversation. Before you would buy your coffee and you would leave, and all they knew was your credit card info. Mm-hmm. Now they get your email because you got a subscription with them. Now they've got all this data around you. They're able to remarket to more people that are coming in, similar lookalike audiences, and they get to learn a ton. And they don't use that data, then that just becomes a huge waste on the cloud. And
that's a smart swerve by Panera. I work in QSR. I work for Papa John's, Hungry Howie's, Chick-fil-A, brands like that. They need that loyalty connection. And Panera had it through catering, and COVID really put the kibosh on the momentum they had. They were the leader in the category. And so they need new ways to get people connected and engaged in those loyalty programs so that they can do things with that data and knowledge. And so programs like the coffee program is getting new customers in. And that's a brand, just be inspired by them. That's a brand that took a punch during COVID. They were, again, king of the crop. We're leading that category in the fast casual, especially around loyalty management, loyalty program management, and they took a punch right to the face. And like Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And Panera said, all right, we have to swerve now. We have to come and bring something new, and we have to get customers back in store. Customers in store are worth more than a sale, right? Because I know I can sell to them over and over. Let's have a round of applause for Chris George. That was awesome. We're inspired.